Welcome. Welcome everybody to this gorgeous occasion of the Articulation series, where art informs Torah and Torah is formed in art. Today we have before us an artist and a rabbi who have shared in Chavruta for the last few months studying about Parshat Balak. And together their meanings have multiplied. The art has evolved day by day, week by week, until arriving to this moment. We have gorgeous occasion of the until arriving to. Okay. We have Tsuriel Sdomi, who is a lawyer, writer, multidisciplinary artist, a graduate of Bar Ilan University in biochemistry and law, studied painting and sculpture at the Avni Institute in Tel Aviv, and furthered his art education at the Micah University in Baltimore, Maryland, United States, and continued to broaden his studies in sculpture, painting, and drawing in the International School of Umbria, Italy. Tsuriel's first stories were published in the best literary stages in Israel in the national press, as well as in leading literary journals. His first book was published in 2019, receiving excellent reviews. Second book is in 2020 by the publishers Tesha Neshamot. Rabbi Ronnie Cahana has been a conservative pulpit rabbi for 25 years, prior to confronting a brainstem stroke in 2011 that rendered him quadriplegic. Among other formative moments in his trajectory as a poet and rabbi, he was given a special invitation to join John Ashbery's Poet Seminar in 1977. Since his stroke, poetry has provided a creative outlet for him to express his theology and voice his gratitude of having been given a second chance at life. Without further ado, Rabbi Ronnie Cahana, would you please share with us a framing of this week's Parsha? You're on mute.
Shalom, my dear people.
Shalom, my dear people.
Shalom. Tsuriel Sdomi takes a very large leap in the story responding to the Parsha.
Tsuriel Sdomi takes a strong leap in responding to this week's Parsha
by creating a pesel.
By creating a pesel.
God let you bring to us, God forbid, an image of a man in such detail.
Can a Jew bring to us the image of a man in such detail?
I close up, I look at evil itself.
A close-up, a look at evil itself.
Why should I see in the eye of the Sdomi Israel?
Why should I peer into the eye of a Soneh Israel?
Please help me, Tsuriel, the man who says God, whose name means God is my rock, I'm nothing else.
To the man who says, God is my rock and nothing else.
Man whose name means God is my rock.
His name.
Welcome.
Welcome, Tsuriel.
Thank you. So, I would like to introduce myself. I've been studying in the Yeshiva Tichonit in high school, and then I continued in my Yeshiva Gvoha in Shaveh Hebron with Rabbi Blacher. And then I joined the army, and I was a fighter for 2 years in Yeshiva Esder. And afterwards, I continued with in the college of Rabbi Goren, Rabbi Shlomo Goren. And afterwards, I started my studies at Bar-Ilan University, biochemistry and law. And all the time, during all my life, I attracted to art, but it was difficult, rather difficult in Israel to make the combination between art and being religious, because you have to give up a lot of things, and I couldn't do that. So I took my courses and I choose them very carefully, and I tried to counsel with rabbis how to make, the art in our limitation according to the halacha. But now it's different, and the experience in all my life, I never had such an experience to study Chevruta, the Parashat Shavua, and at the same time to create out of this a piece of art. And the most interesting thing is, like, I choose Balak, Parashat Balak, it was chosen for me, but I choose Bilam because I think it was like kind of like obsession about, as the Rabbi Cahana said, and it was like most interesting Chevruta, and I hope to continue it during the years, to choose Bilam. Because Bilam, for me, as the Rabbi said, is represented the Sonei Israel. But it's very special Sonei Israel, because you can hate somebody because of reason, like Balak. He has a state, he has a country, he has his own people. He was afraid, really afraid of the people that defeated Paro, the superpower of this antique war, and during all the way in the Midbar, they had a lot of miracles. Even Yitro was aware to these miracles. And he was afraid, he knew that by power, he wouldn't be able to defeat them. So he turned to Bilam. Bilam has no reason to hate Am Yisrael. And this is maybe the typical Sonei Israel that hate Am Yisrael with no reason. So for me, it was really interesting, because in my books and in my painting, I used to concentrate in my books concerned to Germany and to what happened during the Holocaust, but from a different way of looking. So I decided to make Bilam. I choose Bilam, as the Rabbi said in a very beautiful, that Bilam was a man with no arm, with no nation, and actually has no reason to hate them. But he tried to do this. So for me, Bilam represented the most, evil, Sonei Israel, that has no reason. Like, almost I can compare to Hitler, that says the same thing. And why? Because whenever we look at Germany, the Jew play a very important role. If we are talking about Gustav Mahler, if we are talking about Mendelssohn, if we are talking about Max Liebermann, the painter, he was the president of the Association of Painters in Germany. If we are talking about the bankers, if we are talking about Albert Einstein, they played a major role in Germany. And they helped, the science and the culture and everything. And nevertheless, they were so hated by the German, no reason. So I think they were like, the German recognized the power of the people. And the most interesting thing, that the Jew came from the German region, the place, the Rhine Valley, before the German came there. They came with the Roman troops that had a war between the German, Germanic tribes. But they never mixed with all those, people. So Bilam, for me, it was really representing such a man. And I choose not to paint him. I wanted to feel it. I wanted to, and if you take a look at the paintings, I told the rabbi and I told the Dvir that every day I took it as a mission. I left everything, my writing, my painting, my school, and every day it was like creating art in a different form. So that's the reason why I created Bilam, why I choose Bilam, although the Parashat Shavua is like called by the name of Balak. But Balak, he was, from him came Ruth and Moabiah, the mother of kingdom. And he has reason to hate, but he didn't exactly hate. But Bilam hated them, and he won in a way that he knew how to choose. He couldn't curse them because God didn't let him, but he found the very moment that the Am Yisrael was in chulsha, in weakness, and then they were punished with Lot Moab. So if there's any question, I can continue, but if you can just like lead me with a question, I would like to answer. So this experience was like one of the best during my last years, like the combination of art and Torah, and I hope the Rabbi Cahana in Malchut Yamin will continue together. So if you want to ask me questions.
As Syria, Balak would know. Balak was the Ben Zippor. That means I would know that Moshe Rabbeinu's wife's name was Zipporah.
Tsuriel, you know that Balak's father was Balak was Ben Zippor, and Moshe Rabbeinu's wife's name was Tzipporah. And the rabbis say
that Balak's grandfather was neutral. That Zipporah and Zipporah were brother and sister.
the rabbis teach us that Balak's grandfather was Itra, and that Tzipor and Tzipporah were brother and sister.
How is it possible that such hatred of Moses, such despising of the Israelites could come into such a background?
How could it be? How could it be that such hatred of Moshe could come from such proximity of background?
He saw the Edomites destroy. He saw Sichon and Og disappear from the Israelites. Go and join them. You have access. This is your family.
He saw the Edomites destroyed and Sichon and Og. Go join them. You have access. Balak, this is your family.
What blocks his love and open his hatred except fear?
What blocks his love and opens his hatred? It must be fear.
Itself.
The fear of fear itself.
Yes, but it could be something, if we look at the Mikra in the Bible, we could see that the most close people to Am Yisrael sometimes hate them. For example, we have Ishmael and we have Yitzchak. Each of them has the feeling that he would be the chosen one. He wanted to be the chosen one, to legalot et malchut shamayim ba'olam. Even Yaakov and Esav. Even Esav, he was the Bechor, he was the first son to be born. And he was also jealous, not because only, to inherit money or herds of, I don't know, animals or donkeys and, and horses, but I think they knew what is the mission, what they are gonna get. So I think during all the history, Esau, this is Edom. Edom, this is Germany. Ishmael, this is the Muslim. All the time, whenever we talk about Esau, it's Christianity, according to Abarbanel. And when we talk about Ishmael, it's like the Muslim. They represent the Islam. And they wanted to legalot Shem Shamayim Ba'olam. They knew, they were so close to the chosen one. So I think Balak, from him, Ruth Moaviyah came. It's for me, it's so amazing. That's the mother of kingdom, the king of the Mashiach, not Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David, the final Mashiach. He comes from Ruth Moaviyah. Usually whenever we talk the royalty in Europe, you have to be born and to marry other royal family and to continue your dynasty and everything. But here the Torah, God say, I will choose where the mother of kingdom will come. And if you look about Hillel Rabbi Akiva also, you could see that sometimes the people which are close to Am Yisrael, and they feel themselves ready to or suitable to the mission, they hate it because they want to become. Maybe Balak. First of all, we can talk about the reality that he was like a king of Moab, and Am Yisrael has to go through, and he was like afraid that they will conquer, like they conquered all Shivat Amim in Eretz Israel, and he wanted to curse them. But on the other, if we talk about the deep, the meaning that's beneath this, you can say that he was afraid. He wanted that his daughter or granddaughter will lead it, or maybe his people will lead it. So like Esau and like Ishmael. So that's why maybe the people who came from the same mother, like Esau and like Ishmael and Rivka. Even Rivka, she has like two, usually mother loves all her kids equally. But she knew that the youngest son has to continue the Messiah, so she helped them to cheat. So we can see that sometimes, it's not only for, simple thing, but there is a very deep and profound meanings that lead the history and lead our fathers and mother like Rivka to lead the stream in one direction, like Yaakov, like Yitzchak. And even God told Abraham, you should listen to Sarah. He was like almost confused. She knew what to do, the mother, and also God with Rivka. She knew what to do. She didn't want her husband. It's not exactly cheating, but she knew the mission. So maybe with Balak, he was, he knew that maybe that from his generation, Ruth would come, and he maybe was afraid. So that's why they hate us. And even look, Germany hate Am Yisrael. Germany was a strong country. She doesn't have to be afraid, and she could take, they can use the Jew of Germany to make Germany better. That's almost like 40,000 German Jews participated the First World War. They won the Iron Cross Medal in the First World War. But they knew that they represented the good while they represented the bad. I think this is a giant who they recognize immediately the power of Am Yisrael. And it's so weird to see this. Once German told me that in the Second World War, Germany fought against the whole world in one hand, and on the other hand, they put a lot of effort, energy, money, soldier to destroy Am Yisrael. It's crazy. If you were like a normal general, you said, no, it's a secondary mission. We have to concentrate to conquer all the world and then to solve the Jew. No, it was not so important. He wanted to make sure that during all the war, he would do the same thing. So it's weird. That's why with my books, at the beginning, I was so curious why the most intelligent, polite, country do the same thing. And I do believe, and I think the Abarbanel talk about this, about Hitler. He gave a hint about Hitler. I heard it, that these are two giants that fight each other. And I'm happy to say that because I'm in Israel now, that we won. And we're studying Torah together.
Beautiful answer, but it's so ironic even further. And then Balak goes to Balak, the prophet of the Goyim. Balak goes to Balaam, the counterpoint prophet, the Navi, exactly diametrically opposed to Moshe Rabbeinu.
And so in the story, Balak goes to the counterpoint, the most diametrically opposed prophet to the Jews. Balak goes to Bilam.
Yes, it's according to the pasuk. Velo kam od navi b'Yisrael kemoshe. And the Gemara said, b'Yisrael lo kam, aval b'umot olam ken kam. God gave the goyim. They said, okay, we cannot follow your orders because you don't have a prophet. You don't have somebody like Moses. We need somebody to lead us. So he gave them Bilam. But according to the Torah, he used the power of the Tum'ah and not the Torah. He was like full of himself. And whenever we read that Velo kam od navi kemoshe, right afterwards, it's written that Moshe was the most humble person on earth. And there is like one reason, according to the Kabbalah, that we are talking about kelim. Whenever somebody is like, arrogant, his kli is limited, so we can't accept, ha'ara, the Torah, with limitations. But Moshe Rabbeinu was like a tube; he was like a tzino. So the Torah, which is like endless, can go through a tunnel, a tube. I'm sorry for my English. And Bilam was like full of his ego. So God didn't talk to him directly. He let the donkey, the Homer, to talk to him. He never talked to him.
The Talmud says, when God witnesses Moses put him, he leaves the room. When an arrogance comes in, it has the power that God disappears from the person.
It says in the Talmud that when arrogance enters the room, so too does God. Arrogance has the ability to remove God's presence from a space.
Yes.
Dear, it's beloved. That is stuck in no one dimension when all his efforts are being led by Balak. Come and curse these people for me.
All of Bilam's efforts are in a one-dimensional direction. He's led by Balak. Come and curse these people for me.
But we know that from the beginning, the Almighty said to Abraham Avinu, whoever blesses you will be blessed. Whoever curses you curses himself.
But we knew already from the beginning that it says that Hashem said to Avraham Avinu, whoever blesses you will be blessed, and whoever curses you will curse themselves.
Yes.
And then God says, even stronger, the family of man will be blessed by you. Become a blessing. Solo, signify yourself through blessing. And we all know, everyone knows that it is so impossible to curse. It is never available to any of us to be people cursing. We are commanded to be people who bless. There is the power of life, but the temptation, the money, the desire of Balak to please Balak was, I will fulfill your want, your wishes. Why is it that there Numbers 3 comes over and over again in our parsha?
We are commanded to be blessers, but Bilam had desire and temptation cloud his vision. Why is it so that in this week's parsha, the number 3 repeats itself over and over again?
What is the power of hitting the donkey 3 times? What is the power of seeing trial from 3 different viewpoints, 3 different angles? Why is 3 continuous in this part?
Why is it so that Bilam hits the Aton 3 times? How come Bilam tries to find 3 different angles, perches in which he can curse the people? Tsuriel, what's the significance of this number 3?
I mean, if you read the Bible, it was written in a very it didn't use like 3 times, shalosh pe'amim in Hebrew. The donkey said shalosh regalim, if you remember well. Kitani ze shalosh regalim, something like, if I remember well, it's like 3 in, according to, we have like shalosh regalim, shalosh pe'amim she'achnu olim to see God in Jerusalem. I don't know what is the meaning according to the Kabbalah, but I think it's like 1 hit against like 1, maybe whenever we are united. I think Bilam, he knew that the power of the Jew people, it is like when we are together, we are united together. So Shalosh Regalim, it was saying Bilam, I read somewhere it's like against Shalosh Regalim, that Am Israel is gathered in Jerusalem, or Bet HaMikdash. The Aliyah Regel wasn't only, to eat meat and to drink some wine and to do something. It was like the Kohen HaGadol used to teach all Am Israel Torah. And it says that in Bet HaMikdash, they were like all standing, but it was like always, they were not stick together. It was like a lot of space. And he knew that the unity of Am Israel is the most important. And I remember that when we were studying the Chebuta, I told you the story about what happened to me in Sicily, that one hotel in Catania, one hotel owner, he wanted to make something in his hotel, and he found a mikveh, a very old mikveh, under his hotel in Syracuse, excuse me. So they found out that this mikveh was like, very, very old. And it says that Titus, after he destroyed the temple in Jerusalem, he was really impressed by the Israeli soldier. They were in Israel. So he took like 3,000 fighters from Israel, soldier, and he brought them to Sicily to protect Sicily against the, invader from North Africa. And they lived in Sicily, and then after the Inquisition, a very big group of Jews came from Spain. And the most beautiful thing is that these two communities, because they spoke Hebrew, they become as one nation there, and they control all the economy of this island. And if you see, it's wonderful that the Jew in the Yemen, they were connected to the Jew of Babel and the Jew of Italy and the Jew of Spain. All the time they were connected by the Torah. The unity hold Am Yisrael strong. So I think the 3 times that he hated them, it's the 3 times that he wanted to destroy Am Yisrael and by unity. But Aliyah Laregel, 3 times a year, make this nation strong. Every Pesach, every Leila Seder, it doesn't matter if you are in Nepal or in India or in America, in Washington, in Canada, we are reading the same Haggadah, the same Nosach, with a slight differences of accent, like my Yemenite accent or other accent, but it's make no difference. And I think that's what Bilam wanted to do, and he failed. So 3 times maybe against become one nation. About probably the Rabbi have another explanation. I would love to hear that.
Very, very interesting.
But
I'm impressed with this idea. But I got that down every person. We say it. Every generation will be challenged. They will come up to destroy us.
very interesting interpretation. And to add to your beautiful idea, says Rabbi Cahana, every Pesach, we bring up the same conversation where we say that each generation will be a challenge. Each generation will be a confrontation against a Bilam, where we have to strengthen ourselves. This is such fascinating discussion around the Parsha, but I also want to move on to unpack a little bit about the process and to show different images of this art piece, the sculpture, where it was at the beginning, and kind of if Tsuriel, you would guide us through the different iterations it went through. So let's begin with that.
Very good. Oh, what a face, what the confrontation, what the scowl, what the broken, blind-eyed prophet.
Yeah.
What a scowl, what a face, what a punam, what a broken, blind-eyed prophet.
Yeah, it says like Ne'um Bil'am beno be'or Un'um Gever Stuma'ain. He was like blind in his eye, but according to the Kabbalah, it's like he couldn't see the whole of Ruach HaKodesh. He was like given by God the thing he needed, but he couldn't see, like Moshe Rabbeinu that saw everything. With Moshe, we said that so here up at Hashem panim ul panim. I cannot presume that I understand this, phrase according to Kabbalah might be very difficult, but it was to, remind us that he was like anybody who's like hate Am Yisrael, he has to be blind. He couldn't see the good and the benefit that Am Yisrael gave. It's not accidentally that we went to the exile, because everywhere where the Jew arrived to, got to this, they become a blessing. A blessing. For example, but we are afraid to be, even we with the Jew, we apologize all the time. Oh, no, we're not, we are normal. We are not normal. 25% of Nobel Prize winners are Jew. It's not normal. If you learn mathematics, according to the mathematics rule, it's impossible. We are less than 1% of the, the whole humanity, but we are, and it's not being a proud. It's like if we were gifted and wanted to give to the world. Doctor who invited the, vaccines and everything, they couldn't to the world. For example, Moderna. For example, Pfizer. One of them Israeli, one of them is a Jew. They do something good. But Sdomi Israel said, no, You made this disease, and now you give the medication, the vaccine. So I think we have to see that we really give, as the rabbi said, a blessing everywhere we go. If we talk about the golden period of Spain, that's all Ibn Ezra was a doctor, Yehuda Levi was a doctor, many of them was, even Gebirol, Don Yitzchak Rabanel, Yosef Hanagid, they were controlled, the treasure, the war. Yosef Hanagid was the super general of the kingdom of Castilla. And they said that they made all the machinery that Columbus used to go and to discover the Americas. So everywhere, in Germany, in France, in Italy, in Yemen, they established a kingdom of Jew kings. There was a dynasty of kings. They were Jews that converted to Judaism. But we suffer from the people who doesn't want to recognize this blessing and turn it to be evil. But I think that this parasha has like two meanings. First of all, to show the goyim that we are a blessing, and look what happened. But I think more important is to show us not to be shy, not to be ashamed, not to apologize all the time. We have a mission. I know that we are b'chadrei chadarim in the yeshiva. We used to talk that we are Am Nivchar, we are the chosen, because God chose us not to become a closed club that no one can get Islam. Everybody wants to convert Judaism is accepted. We're not a missionary religion, but you can come, you can learn Torah. And I always like to say that people don't know where is the place on earth that they study Talmud the most. And it's not Israel, it's South Korea. In South Korea, every house has the Talmud. Because of what? Because they recognize the benefit of the Torah, the benefit of Israel, the blessing. So I do believe that in the future, maybe in Mot Mashiach, the whole world will become like the South Korea and North Korea, and everybody will study Torah and recognize the blessing. That Am Israel is its own goal, its own mission is like to bring blessing and a cure to the old humanity.
Amen. Amen. Tsuriel.
Tsuriel, what do you make of the bracha Ba'orcha Nireh Or and Bilam is the son of Beor, Bilam's father, but his name means inside the light, within the light. And here we have an event, we have a Bilam who refuses the blessing of God's light.
Tsuriel, what do you make of the blessing that you need to be a light unto the nations, and that Bilam's name, his father's name is Beor, the internal light within?
I think if I understand what the pasuk Bo'cha Nireh Or, which means that we as a Jew, we have to know that our light, it comes already from God. Be'orcha, in the light of God, we will see the light. In the Torah, we will see the light, and then we can spread it. Because we have to be careful not to think that because our intelligence, we are light for the whole nations, but because of God. Because sometimes when somebody is like very intelligent and very smart and very gifted, they think, well, because of me, and I think we should like all the time remember it, because we can be, whenever you are rich or smart, you can fall into arrogance. So maybe the light of God, and with the light of God, we can spread it all over the nation. I think this is the source of our power. That's what I think it talks about. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is.
And what I love about the face and that his neck is made of metal, like a sword that holds it up.
What I like about the face is that the neck is made out of metal. It's like a sword sticking out.
he's, כתוב ואת בלעם באור הרגו בחרב. They mention it by sword. I didn't dig into it. You just like mentioned. I have to look to.
Yes.
I don't know why.
They wanted to die the death of the righteous. And his bracha said, and he died the fool by now or by the Moabites.
He wanted to die the death of a righteous one. In his bracha, it says that he wanted to die among the Moabites.
Oh yes. תמות נפשי מות ישרים ותהיה חריתי כמוהו. I wish that my end will be like I will finish like I'm Israel. Yeah, it's a different.
Tsuriel, the reason of three is very interesting. One time it's a mikra. You do a deed. It's an occurrence. Two times it's a coincidence. Rabbis tell us, oh, you did the same thing twice in a row. It's interesting. But
It is.
3 times, now you do it on purpose. It is what you intend, and it is your fate, what you do. That's the reason for 3. It's also in our dreams, also in every action. When we do 3, it's on purpose. And we have to be accountable.
We have to be accountable on ourselves. The reason why it says that everything that Bilam did in 3s is because 3 is a chazaka. And if you do something 3 times, it means that the action was done on purpose.
Yes, and I think it's the word vayaker. It's like comes from the word in Hebrew mikre, but it has another meaning, which are talking about this with Amalek. Asher karcha baderech. And there is a very nice explanation, that I heard from a rabbi that it has like 2 meanings. Amalek wanted to say everything was like by accident, mikre, nothing with hashgacha elyona. And it means also asher karcha. It's come from the word in Hebrew lekarer, to make you chill. Whenever you are excited by Torah, I will make you cool down, nothing is. So Amalek, the word is like asher karcha. I hope I explained this very well in English because I feel a little bit limited. That the word asher karcha, it has like 2 meanings. First of all, accidentally. The second thing, cool you down. Don't believe, don't be nilhav, don't claim mitzvot with it lahavut, with excitement and be eager to claim mitzvot. So that's maybe Bilam. And I think the most dangerous maybe is like mikre, because now, because of the the science and mathematics and biochemistry and physics and everything, people tend to say, well, the evolution and everything, they try to explain everything with scientific tools, and to make you don't have to believe in God. There's like another decent, reasonable explanation. So, and I think this parasha taught us, well, nothing happened, as you said 3 times. It's not a mikre, it's not accidentally, it's with purpose. So even and even the action of God is not with mikre. Anything that's happened to you, it's out of like purpose of the grand plan of God, of the hashgacha elyona. So maybe the word is very tricky in Hebrew. I don't know if it's the same double meaning in English. But
yeah. Tsuriel, Karen has a question.
Welcome.
Here.
No, I think that the conversation is fascinating. It's been a beautiful meeting of minds. I'm just very interested in hearing how you came to decide out of this parasha to do this piece and sort of what your process was in coming to the piece and just a little bit about your work. It's just, for me, seeing that you just flesh out text, because sometimes in reading text, it becomes, it's two-dimensional and you create the character of you make it so multidimensional and real, like that face, that there was somebody behind that, and it's like you bring text to the fore. So I'd love just to hear you talk about your work a little bit. Thank you.
Okay, so it's a $1 million question, I think. You know, you can see the painting behind me. It's a painting of Caravaggio, Diego Velázquez. I did it as a part of my project in Italy. I've been studying in Italy, and I focused in Caravaggio and Diego Velázquez, one Spanish and one very famous Italian painter. And I think this painting it was made by part of the Italian system to study is like to copy the old masters, what they call the old masters. So I picked up, because I didn't want, I was studying in international school. Obviously, they painted like Jesus and everything. I just like tried to focus in something that was connected to our roots. I had a very special experience. My teacher was like, he was cardinal. He didn't like to, but it was a story. But for me, I have to say, I all the time ask myself, what do I prefer, sculpture or painting? And I have to admit that I found sculpture much more expressive, much more strong, much more, you could feel the rage, the anger. And even with my writing, I try to, I try to take things to the extreme, and I explain why. I run an orchestra for 14 years, and we used to make a very important, classical concert in Germany, all over Europe, even in America. And when I came to Germany, and I've been there many times, I couldn't believe myself. It was so gentle, so polite, and so, try to please you, not only me, only. And I used to look to them and to try to figure out how come all the hate and all the, the rage against you, exploded only 70 years ago. And that's why I try to take things to the extreme, because I wanted to see them angry, upset, to see whether, I can recognize this is the very moment that's all the hate, but it never come out. So for me, when I did the sculpture of Bilam, I tried, to find the expression, the direct way of looking. You look at his eyes. Sometimes when you don't like a person, you try to avoid looking at him directly. You don't like him. You try to go aside, or But this guy, you have to look at the evilness directly, and his eye was blind, and I could make, make it like normal, like as the normal sculpture. But I took his forehead with almost like I punched him, and the eyes and all the lips. I felt the anger, I felt the hate, and the same way I couldn't understand why Bilam hate Israel. I couldn't understand why people do hate us now. And I thought I had a very long conversation with Rabbi Cahana, and I hope with Dvir, and we hope to continue. And I told them once that at the beginning I tried to understand this with a rational reasons why, maybe because they were rich, they were jealousy, but they contribute to the economy and they do good things for people. But one of my friends is not a Jewish, he's a well-known Italian writer. He told me, like the rabbi said, Esav sonel Yaakov, punto. There's no explanation. There's no reason. Stop trying to dig, just like accept it and try to behave with it, live with it. So this sculpture, in this sculpture, I try to bring things to the extreme. I think that's why, art has to think, to take things, to take emotions that you are trying to hide and to make them softer and to, mushy them and make them like, and to give the viewer the feelings, what we are talking about. Even a person who doesn't know who is Bil'am, he will understand that Bil'am was like full of hate and anger and I don't know what. But I think I found sculpture much more expressive, although you can do it also with painting. But in a museum, you're not allowed to touch the sculpture, but when it will be made by metal, I will let them feel it. And I had an experience. I did a sculpture and I participated in a very important show in London with the Royal Sculpture Society. And when I was there, a man, and old, even he was not so old, I think he was like in his 50s, and he get to the sculpture and he start to hold it. And I was sure that one of the guard in this gallery would tell him, man, you're not allowed to touch it. But when I get close to my father, he was a blind man. And his own way, so when the guard comes, said, no, it's okay. I let him touch my sculpture. So in sculpture, I felt to choose this medium because I felt it give you the feeling and you can feel it with your hands. And yeah, that's in general.
There's so much to discuss about this artwork, and it's fantastic. But on top of this conversation that emerged, this sculpture also came from it a Dvar Torah that Rabbi Cahana wrote, that we'll be posting on the Amen Institute's website. But also as a poet, he used it as an opportunity to write not only a Dvar Torah, but to write a poem about this very complex. And just as for you, you came to the realization that sculptures are the most expressive form of art that speaks your language. For Rabbi Cahana, poetry is the most expressive form of art that speaks to his language. So I would like Rabbi Cahana to read his poem, and you can see the lyrics, the words on the screen.
Thank you, and thank you, Tsuriel, to have that image engraved in our own bodies.
Your image is engraved in our own bodies.
Thank you for the opportunity, and I'm sure that the Rebbe will sculpture with words. I think you can do this. We can do the same thing with words, and I'm eager to read it.
Rabbi Cahana, would you like to read the
Balak,
yeah.
Balak, or become Balak, or Bilam. Hesitates no more. Our cemetery, abode of sorrow, begotten you, and disarmament, begotten here disarmament, and in our quaint way, we bear suppers or a curse, while the well-knowing we are in the presence of the Creator, trembling. The Badat Yishkon in Shangri-La, solitude, blessing, I alone here, Matspoon, or Uaya, Uoba, U, yeah, comes a man to be just like you, as a principle, neither faith nor alarm. He will unarm the night in this new country called to be born. Yud K Vav K recites Balak to an ad tribe. To they look east, receive Hitler, Yamashuma. Let's ask him, what's your problem with the Jews? If there's scarcely a percent of the country, two answers. The Jews gave the world a matzpun, a conscience, and I do not want to be weakened by a conscience. And the two, there cannot be two chosen people. We are the chosen people. The Balak contains the word receive, Kabbalah. The word Kabbalah means receiving from God, but without God, what does Balak receive? Only the ruse of power and powerlessness. The rabbis say that Yud K Vav K is really an acronym for the words Huaya, Huove, Vehuye, Betifara.
The rabbis teach us that Yud K Vav K is really an acronym for the words Huaya, Huave, Huiye, Betifara.
It's wonderful. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Rabbi. It's amazing.
Thank you for attending here, for being present. Thank you, Tsuriel and Rabbi Cahana, for undergoing this incredible process where each week we would see new images of Bilam with a new scowl, with a new mark, even more furrowed eyebrows and less, and softened him, and it would go back and forth. I feel like art, painted art, you end up with just one image. But being able to be part of this journey with you and being able to see the continued evolution of this piece shows that you breathe life into what was but a pesel. You created an entire story. And it was really magnificent to bear witness to. It was so beautiful to see how both of you interplayed with one another in thoughts, ideas, Torah, and art. I wish everyone good Shabbos. I wish everyone lots of reflection.
Thank you.
As we enter into this week, Parshat Balak. Take care.
There you are, the most important man in my life, and all joy. I see you flourish and the happiness of the love you create.
Thank you. Thank you. Kol Tuv, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.